Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Iowa soccer supporters. I'm Ben Brackett, your Soccer Talk co-host with my good buddy and pal, Blake Siebers. Siebes, what's up?
Ben, a little different location today. Our friends over at Capital Financial Partners are letting us use their space here.
This is very true. We're also recording this on St. Patrick's Day and the first day of the NCAA tournament. So we're here hanging out, watching the games with them. But springtime is in the air. And so we thought now would be a great time to highlight some of our high school players. And so today is the National Signing Day edition. Right, Siebes?
Yeah, we did this a couple years ago because of COVID. We missed one, but pretty good. We got a lot of feedback, a lot of traction. And I think it's really valuable for families and kids to hear from their peers on the college recruitment process and what they learned and recommend.
Yeah, and also a good opportunity to recognize these players for their achievements. So let's just quick run through the running order. So we're going to start with Freddie Muniz. Freddie is a senior at Des Moines East, also plays for the United Football Academy, and he'll be going to Grandview University here on the east side of Des Moines. Then who do we talk to?
And we got Sophie Hoffman. She's up north, Dike-New, Hartford, plays at VSA, and she is going to South Dakota State, and she just won a state title in basketball, I saw 2 weeks ago or so.
She'll be riding high into the spring season, probably hoping to do the double. Then we've got Grace Smith, Roosevelt senior, that will be going to Drake University in the fall. She also plays at Sporting Iowa.
Yeah, and then to wrap it up, Andrew Holmes, kind of we like to keep him here in our Des Moines lineage, but formerly Des Moines Roosevelt in Sporting Iowa. Then he moved up to go to St. Cloud Tech and played for the Minnesota Eclipse, and he is going to the Missouri Valley to play for Evansville in Indiana.
In Indiana, that's very right. Correct. We're really excited for this conversation. Or these conversations. Hopefully you enjoy them as well. Let's get to it.
In its 107th edition, the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup, U.S. Soccer's national championship, has crowned a champion since 1914 in every year except 2020 and 2021. The History Field tournament is conducted on a single game knockout basis and open to all professional and amateur teams affiliated with U.S. Soccer.
Your Des Moines Menace have the second most wins over professional teams in the history of the 109-year-old competition, and we'll look forward to building on that number in 2022. Their run at the Cup will begin at home as they welcome Minneapolis City Soccer Club on Wednesday. That's next Wednesday, March 23rd. The match will be played at Valley Stadium in West Des Moines, and kickoff is slated for 7 p.m. You can be sure that we'll be tailgating probably starting at 5. Tickets can be purchased ahead of time at dmmenacesoccer.com/tickets or at the gate moments before the big game.
The winner of the first round, Minneapolis SC or the Menace, which obviously will be the Menace, will then travel to Omaha 2 weeks later to take on the reigning USL League One champion, Union Omaha, in the second round of the tournament.
If you're a high school program, check out our promotion for the game that we're doing in conjunction with the Menace. And if not, come join us for a beverage before the game. We'll look forward to seeing you out there up the Menace. All right, Freddie Muniz, welcome to the pod. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I didn't check with you to make sure I was going to pronounce your name correctly. Did I do okay?
Yeah, that was good.
Okay, good enough. Thanks for joining us today. Just done with school for the day. Popped over to join us. We're excited to have you. Did you listen to the podcast ahead of time?
Yeah, I did. The one you sent, I don't know who sent it to me, but someone sent me. I saw a good 15, 20 minutes of it.
Okay, so you know what the first question is?
Yeah, I should.
And
no, I do not listen to podcasts.
All right. And this is the first one you ever been on, right?
First one.
Nervous?
A little nervous, a little excited.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'd be nervous for what's coming here.
Yeah. All right. Well, so Freddie, we like to usually start too with just a little bit of like your soccer origin story and like when did you start playing? Where did you start playing? And then kind of like talk us through, where you are, gotten yourself to today.
Right. So I started playing when I was about 6 years old. I started over there at Soccer South. And then I played there until I was in about third grade. And
do you remember playing before then though too? Like were you playing at home and stuff?
Yeah, I
Or was that
remember
the
just
first time
yeah.
you ever played?
No, yeah, I was kicking the ball around. I had some cousins around the same age, so we were just always just messing around.
Sure.
But I didn't take it seriously till like third grade because I went to Morris and my gym teacher was J.R. Fernandez.
Oh.
And so he invited me over there to play with him in Altoona. And so
that's where it started.
yeah, that's where it started. So back in the Altoona days, I was there for a good 4 years maybe. And then the whole transition to JR like was invited to coach for Menace.
Mhm.
So I went along with him. And so yeah, we were Menace for a while. We became FC United, and then we switched over to UFA.
But you've ultimately been on that same squad.
Yeah.
They're the same group of guys.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's
like
really
a couple
cool.
players gone can come here and there, but I've been with JR for about 10 years. More than half of my life, he's been my coach.
Wow. It's funny. The thing about JR that's amazing is like he coached me when I was younger, like a kid.
Literally he coached us like that.
It's kind of incredible to think about that. And he has a very distinct like style of coaching, and the stuff that he's teaching, it's got that little Brazilian flair, but it's all technical, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I assume you must have enjoyed, if you've continued to stay with him, you've enjoyed playing for him.
Yeah, I have. It's been really fun. I've really enjoyed it.
Well, talk a little bit about playing for UFA. What I assume that's been pretty cool for you.
Yeah, UFA, it's been really cool, really helpful. It's also been kind of a struggle because you're this like new club, and so a whole bunch of like the bigger teams like look down on you, but like as a club in the whole, but a whole bunch of teams also knew our team because we've been pretty much the exact same team, and we just got done winning. We won state this last time around, and we've played some tournaments and stuff and done good, and yeah, we've just been successful. It's been nice.
Yeah, you guys have had kind of, like you said, a core group of guys that played, and you guys have won quite a few state cups over the years, though, haven't you? From when you were originally U13.
Yeah, we've won five state titles. Yeah, 3 with Menace, 1 with FC United, and 1 with UFA.
And you've had success at regionals. Have you guys ever advanced out of group stage?
We made it to the semifinals.
Okay,
our second year. We lost to Sporting Kansas City, a 1-0 in overtime. But the next year, Sporting KC wasn't allowed to compete because they're an MLS team or whatever.
Sure.
But so it was pretty unlucky, but we still made it to semis.
Yeah. So what's so I've seen you play. I really like the way you play. I think you're a good player. Did you ever feel the need or the want to like say go play for like a Sporting Iowa or somewhere like that like they sort of like they build themselves that they're going to like give you the best competition you could possibly get. Did that ever cross your mind, or were you more about like playing with your friends or playing with that coach in particular with JR, or like talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, no, I've always kind of liked a group of people that I've played with, because JR started teaching us young how we've always been a possession-based team and keep the ball, not really sending the ball forward and everything. And a whole bunch of these other clubs, that's what they do. They just send the ball forward. One guy goes, runs, and it's just kind of different. Our team is just, I feel like our team is just structured better, and I enjoy being with JR and with all my guys.
Yeah. You guys won our high school mini pitch battle last spring, right?
Mm-hmm.
Freddie was leading goal scorer.
Got the golden boot. It's somewhere, right? We didn't let him keep it.
Oh no. Yeah, we should have that sitting in front here. But I just think it was really funny to watch all the different high school teams play, and then you guys were the only team that was like your club team, right? So you guys were younger than everybody, at least as a whole, because a lot of the teams had some old guys and some younger guys. I thought it was really cool the way you guys, like your distinct style of play was like too much for most of the teams there, right? But it was all like 1 and 2 touch, pass and move. So then maybe talk a little bit about the transition that's coming up for you.
Yeah, no, you're talking about like going college.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't tee up very well.
I think that's what he means too.
Well,
but we'll see.
But so I guess where I was going, like college is a lot more physical, a lot more like no matter where you're playing, it's going to be more direct, right?
Yeah.
So like, are you excited for that transition?
Yeah, it's going to be a good learning experience, good everything, because me and 2 of my other UFA guys, Tonatu and Lucas, they're also committed to Grandview. They're going with me too. So I'm not alone there. And yeah, we're a possession-based team, but we just gotta work and adapt and try to fit into their system.
Well, you guys are a scrappy team too, right? Like you're not just a
I had to referee those guys, and I was getting tripped quite often.
Yeah, no, we need to play with we got to, but
you can still cage match if you need to.
Yeah, but playing with guys older than you and everything, you definitely have to learn, and it's going to be difficult, but we're here for it.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't want to change it completely because we want to get into the Grandview, but talk about high school soccer. So you were at Lincoln at least last year.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're at East.
Yeah.
Were you at Lincoln freshman sophomore year?
I was, but last year was the only year that I played. Yeah,
because of COVID year was in there.
Yeah,
right.
COVID,
okay.
Yeah.
So freshman year, whatever, you're a freshman, sophomore year.
Did Simons not put you on varsity freshman year?
I just decided not to play.
Okay, got it.
So he was probably also like, how big were you when you were a freshman? Because you're not like a big dude.
I was small.
110 pounds.
Fair enough. So, and then so when we grew up playing, like it was very difficult to just like change schools. Like I couldn't go from Valley and be like, oh, I'm just going to go to Lincoln. So like now that's a thing, what kind of went into your decision-making process? Is it just because it's all UFA boys?
Yeah, pretty much. It was just most of our UFA guys were already there at East, and me and Tanatu, who went to North, we both went over to East. We just wanted to have our final year together because we've been so successful. Like, and all the other schools, they have players here and there that play club too, but we just wanted to give it our all with our strongest team, see how far we can take it.
The Lincoln boy is going to be out to kick you a couple times, you think?
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
You guys have to beat them now, right?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, you definitely do. Well, what about just like for me, I can't imagine just changing high school, like from my junior year and then like switching over. And granted, like you're going kind of up the street and you're not going all the way across town, but still, what's that been like?
It's been different. It's a whole different school. The first day I was lost. I was a whole new environment and everything. But then again, it's still the same district. So it's the way school goes. It's pretty much the same thing, but it's just the environment, the different people there. It's weird, different.
High school soccer. We're big. We love high school soccer. We know it may not always be the quote best soccer, but we think, the atmosphere, the environment is, you don't get that anywhere in clubs. So I'm just curious, like, do you like playing high school soccer? Is it fun? You don't like it? What are your thoughts on it?
No, I really like high school soccer. I'm really mad that I missed out on that sophomore year, that COVID year, because over there at Lincoln we had a really strong team.
That was the loss. We talked to Jack. Remember Ben?
The lost year.
Yeah.
Sorry, keep going.
No, but and then when I played my first year last year, it was really fun. All the crowd hype, your teammates and everything, it just feels good. And over here at East now, East may not be the most like competitive in all the other sports, but they have a really good fan base. There's really good energy there, and I'm excited for high school soccer.
That's exciting. Talk about your recruiting process. And I guess a little bit that kind of goes to what we were talking about before. Like if you go to, like certain clubs are telling you like, hey, if you come to us, we're going to get you to the school you want to go to. But when the more we talk to kids, like, it's going to showcases, it's personal relationships. Sometimes it's your coaches that are getting you there, but talk a little bit about how you ended up at Grandview and maybe where else you were looking and that whole deal.
Yeah, no. So I think back in November, I started applying for just a whole bunch of different colleges with soccer programs and everything. Just applied, whatever happens. And then, one day I went back home from school, and Al, one of the Grandview coaches, he contacted me. He was like, hey, Freddy, when can you communicate? And then a couple hours later, we started talking, and I told him how I played under JR. And he said that they were really good friends. And so they got into communication more. And this was right before Christmas break. So he said that he wanted to schedule a time after the break for me to go visit them over there. And I did. We started talking more and more. And then about a week later, I showed up to a college combine visit, and they were there too. And they had me put on like this GPS tracker thing. It felt pretty cool. But and I guess
so they could see that you actually run.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it was fun. And we just got to talking more and more, and they really liked how we performed and everything. So And we got there.
That's wild. Like Al and JR, two like Des Moines soccer staples that have been around for 30,
at least 30
plus years. Yeah. Have you been to, I mean, you've been in Des Moines now for forever. Have you been over to watch a Grandview game?
I have like bits of it here and there when we play at county and everything.
Yeah, that's kind of cool and helpful, right? You guys are playing, the youth tournament's going on, and you can walk over and watch a little bit of one of their games.
So this is a thought for me. Like when I was in high school, I was like, dude, I got to get out of Des Moines, even though here I am back. But was that a thought at all? Like that you wanted to get out of town and try something new, or are you like pleased to be closer to home? You know, like sometimes it's nice to be able to go home and have like Sunday dinner, or like maybe drop some laundry off, or whatever. So your folks get to see you play every week. You know, like that's pretty cool. So just curious what your thoughts are.
No, yeah, I was really excited to stay close to town. That's what I wanted, to stay close, be with my family, stay close to my friends and everything. And I've always liked playing here in Des Moines and everything, and wanted to elevate that when I'm at Grandview. Have more kids at Des Moines be like look at me as an example. Saying that they could make it too.
Yeah. That's cool.
How'd you talked a little about the other two boys going to Grandview. How did that, did you guys, I mean, what were the conversations like between you three as you all went through the process kind of at the same time, right?
Yeah.
You guys all kind of got announced within close proximity to each other. So what were you guys chatting about and stuff?
Yeah, no,
who's the odd man out? Who's not going to have a roommate?
Maybe they get the 3-person room.
No, yeah. Well, us three, we've all been playing together and everything, and we've been talking for a while, like, oh, it'd be pretty cool if we went here and here together, blah, blah, blah. But it was, what am I trying to say? Sorry, what was the question again?
No, it's just like, what were you, I mean, you guys were talking to each other a lot.
Yeah.
And just like, hey, we want to play with each other. Did you guys ever
who committed first?
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
I've always wanted Grandview because it was closer, and all the other guys, they wanted to maybe go like a little further away, take a little break and everything.
Yep.
But they saw that I really wanted it too, and they got to talk to the coaches too, and they really liked it. So we all just kind of, this is good.
Okay, so you committed first. Then were you to them like, hey guys, come on, like come to Grandview with me? Like were you recruiting them essentially as well?
Yeah, it was about the same time, but I was the first thought of out there. Yeah.
That's funny. Did you get recruited by any other places? Like was Drake talking to you, or any other Iowa schools?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had my ODP coach, Mike. He was up in
Mike, who's your ODP coach?
Mike Madigan.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
And then
he used to be up at Wartburg, right?
Yeah, Wartburg. Yeah, that's where it's at. And then there was also from that combine, I got offers from Missouri and like Illinois, Rockford over there. And
sure.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's always interesting to me, and like I've seen you play, right? So I'm like, man, I bet he could go like a lot of places. So I'm always curious, like who's watching and who's following up.
Is the goal to play? Sorry, Ben. Is the goal to play it's got to be? I'm assuming forward, or have those conversations been? Have you had those conversations with Al or Goodyear? As like where you're going to play?
Maybe better question. What do you think about there's going to be a new coach, right?
Yeah.
Does that like affect your decision at all?
No, not really, because I didn't know the other coach or anything. So I was the first one that I met.
Sure.
And so if he's taking over or whatever, then it's fine with me.
Yeah.
So
fair enough.
We're old. So Al used to coach us.
He was my coach when I was 11.
Like he would, I mean, this was 30 years ago, 25 years ago. He would actually he was a mean defender and like would tackle. And like, I remember, I mean, sure you do too, Ben, right? Like absolutely tackling like any 50-50 ball. We're 12 years old going in and tackle against a 25-year-old man. And he would just like absolutely destroy us. So it was, he's a good man. It's funny.
So Blake was, before you got here, he was just kind of like rattling stuff off. And he said that you had started a soccer program at Christ the King School.
Yeah, I did.
Tell us a little bit about that. We didn't even talk about having you talk about that, but I think that's really cool. So tell us a little bit about it.
So I was at Morris till 3rd grade, and 4th grade, I switched over to Christ the King.
And that's over, where is that? That's on the south side.
Yeah, south side, Southwest 9th over there.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah. So back in Morris, we had this league with JR, this indoor league. We played on like Tuesdays or whatever. It was everyone who played 3rd to 5th grade, anyone can just sign up and play. And so there was an assistant gym teacher there, assistant PE teacher, and he actually moved over to Christ the King. And so the next year I went over and he was there too. And I was like, you used to be with JR, like, wouldn't it be cool if we could join that league too? Because I knew JR too. And so he's like, yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I could talk to JR. So he talked to JR, and he told me that it'd be best if, like, hearing it from a student, like the principal.
Yeah.
So we made posters, me and my mom, we made a whole bunch of posters.
And you're 10 years old?
Yeah, I was like 9.
Nine?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
And yeah, we had these 2 posters, a whole bunch of stickers, and I had a little piece of paper with me because I was nervous. And I went up to her, like, principal, and I was talking about it, and she loved it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we got to play.
That's super cool. Talk about academics. What's like, what are you going to study? Do you know?
Yeah, I'm going in as a business major.
Okay. Smart
Yeah.
man.
Mm-hmm.
Make some money someday.
Yeah.
Fair
That's the
enough.
goal. At least
That's the
hopefully
goal.
it's the goal,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's true.
What's so you've been through the process, you're committed now. Hopefully a little less stress and whatnot. Do you have any if there's a 15-year-old kid, freshman, sophomore, 8th grade, listening to this, like that wants to play in college, they don't really know where to go, what to do, right? What would you, if you had like a little piece of advice or a nugget for them to listen to and take to heart, what would it be?
No, just follow your dreams, follow your passion. Everybody comes from different backgrounds, and everyone has different situations, but if you really want it, there's always a way to make it.
That's wise words from a young man. I like it.
Did we get to our favorite part yet, Ben?
I think it's time.
All right. Predictions for high school season in the spring here in less than a month.
Yeah. Is East, so first of all, is East going to make they've never made state. Has a Metro team other than Roosevelt ever made state? Has Hoover? North has not. Lincoln has not. I doubt East has.
Yeah, I doubt.
We would have known about that. We would have definitely known about that. So, okay. So predictions. You going to take them to state?
Yeah, we are. We definitely are.
Okay. And then what? Just one and done?
You make some noise?
I'm gonna make some noise. We're gonna turn this whole East isn't a good team thing around. For the next years to come, everybody.
They're going to be afraid of the Scarlets?
They're going to be afraid of Scarlets.
I love it.
Good deal.
Finally, somebody like actually is.
Yeah. Most of the time, people
confident.
are like, "Oh, we're going to have a good year. We're going to try hard." I like this.
Yeah, we hope to make it there.
Yeah.
I love it. That's great.
All right. Well, we will be watching. We obviously will be following high school soccer, and the East High team is one that is on our radar. But then also, we love watching Grandview play as well. So hopefully, we'll get to enjoy some Freddie Muniz action for the next 5 years or so. Right.
Right.
All right, man. Thanks for joining us.
Freddie.
Thanks for having me.
All right, that was Freddie Muniz, now a Grandview Viking. Up next, we'll chat with Sophie Hoffman, most recently a state champion in basketball, hopefully a state champion in spring soccer here. All right, Sophia Hoffman, welcome to the pod. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm pretty great. Sorry for all the delays to this. So you've been having the chance to chat with Blake a little bit. I assume he did not let the beans slip on what our first question is. Are you familiar with the pod?
I've listened to the one he sent me and the most recent one, but he's kind of just getting to know me, but I'm not really sure what the first question will be, but
We love it.
All right, Blake.
So we're on what episode? Like 100, and we've done 112, 13 of these. So Sophia, you already strike one there for not listening to many more than just the one or two. But is this
Sophia, give him a strike for not knowing how many episodes we've done, by the way.
ooh,
so is this the
come on now.
podcast
Come
you've
on
ever
now.
been on, Sophia?
Actually, no, this is not the first podcast. Our school has a podcast, and I'll shout them out. Loose Change. Go give them a listen. And they've interviewed me for basketball. So
Basketball.
Wow.
yeah, basketball, not soccer.
I was going to say major twist here because my understanding is you go to quite a small high school and you're like a stud soccer player. So how is basketball the thing you're getting interviewed for?
Honestly, it's funny. A lot of people think our school is very small, but we're very mighty. We're a super good volleyball school. Super good. We actually hold the state record. We have 16 or 17 state championships. And just this past year for basketball, we won state. So, I mean, I guess you could call me a soccer stud, but basketball is also something I'm really, really interested in.
How
Well, I didn't do my research. Sorry.
No, you cleared it. And I don't want to take over your next question, but how since we're on the subject, how engaged or interested were you to play college basketball?
Very. I would say up until about freshman or going into my sophomore year, I played club basketball and club soccer at the same time, which is very tough in the summers. But I kind of sat down with my family and, had the talk about, you've got to pick one. You can't go with both the whole time, especially if you're wanting to go to college somewhere like as high as the Division I. It's very tough to play one sport. You couldn't imagine playing two. So I made the decision to quit club basketball and just kind of focus on soccer.
Yeah, so you're definitely going out of line with your standard timeline, but we'll go back to the beginning at some point. But tell me, like, how, man, that must have been a tough decision.
Yeah, soccer is one of my first loves, but so is basketball. Honestly, I didn't grow up around soccer. Down where I live in the Cedar Valley, it's not very popular. Obviously, that's why I've kind of had to venture out towards Des Moines and bigger cities to kind of get more involved. But I was honestly always surrounded by basketball, so that was super hard for me to kind of let that go and kind of branch out and go for what my heart kind of wanted, which was soccer, obviously.
Okay, so we love segues. Let's go back to the beginning. Tell us how you sort of got involved, just playing sports, and then we'll circle back to this whole decision between soccer and basketball, I guess, right, Blake? That's probably a good way to do it.
Yeah, what do you call it? The origin.
The origin story. The origin story. I don't think I call it that. I think that's just what it's called.
Yeah. I've always played a bunch of sports growing up. I've tried everything. I've been a wrestler. I've played football. I've done almost everything under the sun for sports wise. Obviously was pretty good at most things I did. But as I got older, you could tell I was maybe more inclined to play basketball or soccer or even something like softball. But yeah, I started soccer when I was probably five or six, little tyke stuff. And the funny thing is for me, I didn't start playing club soccer until I was 12, maybe 12, 13. So I always kind of liked my little hometown team, and I was always afraid to venture out and kind of maybe play at the bigger level. But then my mom convinced me, and ever since then, obviously, taken off. I've been around the state for soccer and club, finding what's best for me, but ended up at VSA.
So many questions. Blake, do you have, I can just start going, but I don't want to jump in. I feel like I've just been talking.
Go ahead, because I've got I'll fill in as needed, because I'm sure you'll miss something.
Yeah, of course, standard. So I'm curious, when you're, all these different sports, is there something that is a core, an overlap between all of them, where it's like you just love to be competitive, or you like to be a part of a team, or what is it? Because not very many people would say that they've participated in all those sports, maybe soccer and basketball, but then you threw in football, you threw in wrestling. Did you say softball? You said softball. I don't know if you said you played it, but
no, like you said, honestly, the competitiveness, team atmosphere is it's just something about competing for me. I hate to lose, and if I'm good at something, I'll stick with it and just see how far it could take me. But I also love meeting all new types of people, especially since soccer and basketball playing club. I've got to go to a lot of different places, different clubs, where I've made a lot of really good friends. And I think that's what sports is honestly about, is making those connections, lifelong connections. But yeah, a lot of the stuff overlaps. even athletically, like my basketball coach says this all the time. He's like, I love soccer players. I love them because it correlates. A lot of the sports intertwine, like what we do on the basketball court. I'll be doing defensive drills, shuffling, and it's like, oh, I do this on the soccer field. Like it's like the vision of passing, it's the same thing.
What are the other ones? I did a little. I wasn't good at basketball, but I played some, so I definitely see that one. I'm curious about the wrestling one because Blake's kid wrestles, and I feel like when I knew Blake's kid before he wrestled, he was not as good of a soccer player. When he started wrestling, he was a much better soccer player.
Yeah. I didn't wrestle for long. I wrestled for maybe 2 years when I was younger. But definitely conditioning wise, like, not to say this in a bad way, but I definitely was a bit chubbier when I was a kid, but wrestling kind of got me a little more in shape for soccer and basketball. And obviously playing all these sports, you have to be in shape. So that and also being like, I'm a big wrestling fan as well. But being calculated, like I'd like to think I'm a very calculated player in a lot of things, and I think wrestling is just that, rather than just focusing on athleticism and strength. So
I think
that's where I kind of
the mental piece too of wrestling. I mean, those guys are crazy, and
yeah,
never easy for them. So like when you think you're tired or you think you're struggling in soccer, like those guys, you just get I don't know who's listening, so I better watch what I say language wise, but I mean, you just get your butt kicked and you struggle and suffer in wrestling, and those guys don't care.
Yeah.
I have a friend who was doing some. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
I was just going to say, I've got a friend who was doing jujitsu, and he said there's nothing like a workout for an hour where somebody's just trying to kill you basically for a whole hour. I imagine that's what wrestling's like. I'm not that tough, but
maybe depends on who you're wrestling.
So like, at what point do you make it? To me, like beyond even like the recruiting thing is like, when do you make that decision? Like, how do you decide that soccer is the thing? Or you said you had to sort of sit down and make that decision, but like, how does that conversation go? I was never good at anything, never good at two things. I was just a one-trick pony, just like Blake.
No, it is. Sorry to interrupt you, Sophie, but like super interesting question because I think a lot of the people we talk to are from like big schools that have definitely picked one sport for a few years and kind of run with it, even though all this multi-sport thinking is out there. So I think it's definitely interesting. I think other people would probably be interested too, especially from the small towns where you have to play multi-sports if you're in high school. If your high school wants to have teams as well. So go ahead.
And kind of piggybacking off of that is a lot of people don't realize, like at smaller schools, some of these, your basketball coach might be your football coach. Like a lot of this stuff overlaps. Like if you're not out for this, well, your coach will go talk to you and be like, hey, you should probably go do this, to get better at this and this sport. But no, I think that definitely happens more at smaller schools, especially since you need the numbers. But as far as like my journey and like deciding between maybe soccer, basketball, or just soccer in general, I think there are many things to look at, and just being realistic, because obviously like club soccer is very expensive. So is club basketball, and it's an investment. It's 100% an investment. And my mom always kind of just preached to me. She's like, I know you love both, but we're investing in you as a person and player. We want you to be the most, we can't have you, half-assing maybe one or the other thing just to maybe because you're tired or blah, 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 blah. We need you 100% all in, you have potential here. Like, go with what your heart says, but also, there's the other background stuff with it.
So what age were you when you said, hey, you know what, I've got to give up club basketball because on the nights I got to choose, like I'm all in for soccer? Was there like a certain time, a certain moment, or was it just, hey, I'm X years old and this is the time I need to start figuring this out?
I think a lot of things factored into it. Obviously recruiting. A lot of people don't really notice, but you're getting recruited straight away when you get to high school. I mean, if you want to play a Division I sport, especially soccer, you got to start right away. And I think I kind of was late on the curve for that. And again, in my heart, I think I knew I just was so pure with soccer, maybe unlike in a way I was with basketball. And I knew I was kind of already late to the train, so I wanted to get on top of that as quick as I possibly could after freshman year.
So how did you, Ben, unless you have something right away, how did you get start the recruiting process? It sounds like you went, again, we did some big time research here. How you obviously went to an ID camp for South Dakota State, but what was the recruiting process like, and where did you go? Talk about your experience there.
I think my recruiting process was unlike a lot of other people that I talked to. I always knew I wanted to play Division I soccer, but obviously COVID was a huge obstacle for all us recruits, especially our class. But I went to how many camps? I talked to coaches. Maybe they're interested, maybe they're not. You know how the recruiting process goes. And then there were a couple of schools I was like, oh, I'm really interested in that. And then all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I was talking to Ginger, and this was after the Colorado trip. She's like, I'm really good friends with the coach, and he's looking for players, and like knowing him, you're the type of person he wants on his team. Go to this ID camp. Go meet with him. Go talk with him. Go play in front of him. Like, I really do think you'd love it there. Like she was just telling me all these things. I was like, I was getting to the end. I thought this was gonna be my last ID camp, and then I would figure out the rest. So this was maybe kind of my last like little thing. So I went out there, and then after like the first like 20 minutes of the camp, because coaches are awesome.
I lost you. Can you go back to did you lose it too, Ben, or not? Okay, go back to when you were like, oh, this might be the last ID camp, and your eyes are like looking up at the ceiling, and then repeat what you said.
They're just frozen.
Yeah.
You're all right. It happens on Zoom. Yeah. So last ID camp kind of just was like, you know what? She threw it out there. Maybe there's no harm in go checking it out. Like if she's saying what it is, and he's the type of player, he's the type of person that would want players like me. What's the harm in going to check it out? And so I went there, and first like 20 minutes, 30 minutes into the camp, I was like, this is the environment I want to be in, because their coaches were obviously doing fun little drills, and like they were just so interactive with everyone, and I was like, this is awesome. I like this. And then obviously it just propelled even more throughout the camp and after, obviously.
That's exciting. The thing I was going to ask a little bit before is, and I think this does actually like carry over to Blake's question. Talk about like role models, like going to a coach or a school like this, like who were the players that you were looking up to, and then like maybe think on like the next level after that, like especially as somebody who plays all these sports, like who are your like your big time role models. And I'll just give you the example of like when I was growing up, there were not a lot of like an American male soccer player that was successful. Like, like there weren't a ton of them. So like I was just a big Michael Jordan fan. And so like he shaped a lot of the way that I just like wanted to be competitive, let's say. So talk about the difference between like the player, like who you were looking up to as players that are current, and then like a little bit about just like who are the big names, or because you've got a lot of really cool people that you could look up to, but I'm just curious what's influencing you.
And funny that you mention your own. Mine's definitely Michael Jordan. I love Michael Jordan. I love Kobe. my number has always been 23 for Michael Jordan, which is funny again for soccer. Everything correlates. It's funny when you look back on it, but Michael Jordan, just that killer mentality, I guess. There's just no one like him. He's the GOAT. Sorry, any
So this is why, but no, it's okay. You're fine. We can probably agree on that as based on at least me and Blake's age. But I'm so curious about that then. So how do you come across basketball, but you're 17, 18, like Jordan has been done since you were born. So like Blake and I could watch him play in the NBA finals back in the early 90s. Yeah. So like who's your dad influencing your mom?
My dad. My dad is a big Jordan fan, and again, like I said, growing up, I had big basketball influences on me. And even if we didn't want to talk like a male, like more female specific, I'm a big Tobin Heath fan for U.S. Women's National Team for soccer wise. Love her play style. I've kind of modeled my game after her, honestly. But yeah, those two, honestly, just watching them on the field court, then their mentalities and the way they just want to be the best and just embarrass people and just make it known that, you know, they're there. I think that is what made them most appealing to me.
Yeah, we hear you like a no-look pass.
And the Megs.
Yes, I do.
Time, right, Ben?
Yes, big time.
So Justin Vorskla,
you're not
is like king.
You're not calling your nutmegs, are you?
I won't comment on that one.
I'm curious now, like does Justin play with you guys ever or not?
No. He has a bad ankle, so he can't play.
You've played with him.
No, but
he's king of the no-look pass. He loves the no-look pass, and so like he brought that up in the Megs that you are just in love with the Megs. So
yes, 100%. No, if he's standing there, you know, every soccer player does it. You just meg him. Like you can't not do it. Honestly.
Tell me the difference between, if you're a Michael Jordan fan, like I feel like one of the things about him as a player was like he was obviously a good attacker, offensive player, but he took a lot of pride in being like a really good defender. But so I understand you're like, are you playing more like as a 10 or a winger? Like you're in that front third, right? So
yeah.
Does that overlap? What's the defending mentality that you've got these days?
Again, it's so funny. Like hearing you ask these questions, because in soccer, I'm a pure 10. Like I love to attack, and Justin will yell at me, get back or whatever on certain things. And in basketball, I'm just like Dennis Rodman, like in your face, like just defense, like crazy. So it's funny, but soccer definitely attacking pure 10, honestly.
So you're literally like a Tobin Heath. Got it.
Yeah.
He clearly doesn't like to tackle, doesn't like to defend, doesn't like to track.
All right. So talk about what's this transition going to be like into college soccer, because it sounds like, you know, like sports and being competitive and all that stuff, that's like deeply ingrained in you. So what's it going to look like for you over the next 6, 8, 12 months?
Honestly, just like you said, keeping on the competitiveness, keeping on the grind. College soccer is very physical, fast paced. You know, it's unlike club and high school, because everyone's obviously good, and you're gonna be playing quality opponents every night. I think for me the most is just staying as physically fit as I can, especially in my role, because you know, you never know, but like in club games, like I'll play the whole time, obviously, so it's good to stay physically fit. And I think my build, especially, I think I'm college soccer ready as far as strength wise, but speed of play I definitely could improve on. But I'm excited. I could go right now. I just love being competitive. I love being put in those environments where I'm.
So one thing, Ben, we talked about when you were getting your earphones, mic sorted out, was the lack of an Iowa pipeline to South Dakota State, which is pretty interesting because it's up in Brookings, South Dakota, which isn't, I mean, it's far, but it's not, we're a border state, right? So I don't know, I think that's kind of cool if you could just show some other female athletes like, hey, there's another school within a close proximity to have opportunities to play.
Yeah. And I do agree with you in that sense. It's, you know, it's like Brookings, Iowa, like who I'm not Brookings, Iowa, Brookings, South Dakota. You know, people might not hear about it, but I mean, I'm from a small town. Like, I understand what that's like. I understand, like, you know, you get overlooked with that sort of thing, but it's like, they're a great program. They're a great school. Heck, they made it to the NCAA tournament this year. Like, that's saying a lot. And I think, putting them on the map as far as like people I know or my area, because like a lot of people are big UNI fans. I live 10 minutes away from UNI and they're Missouri Valley, but like, oh, that's awesome. You're going to South Dakota State. Like, you know, I've never been up there. I've never, you know, you don't hear much about them. Like, you will.
Well, where else were you looking at going to school, by the way? That's always a question we ask. And like talk about the process for deciding. It sounds like once you had been on the South Dakota campus, you were like, okay, this is happening.
For me, I was honestly open to anything. I have no set requirements to where I wanted to go. I went to how many camps. I really liked Drake. I loved Lindsay as a coach, and obviously Des Moines is a great place. UNI, close to home. My mom's alma mater. You know, just places like that. Like, I was okay with going far, but it seemed to be getting the most interest from Midwest, obviously. So kind of those were the schools. Maybe even like Upper Iowa. I love James Price.
And so the deciding factor at SDSU is like coach is awesome, training environment's awesome, new place,
yeah,
and like top program.
Yeah, and just the people, honestly. Going up there, and it's like everyone's just crazy for SDSU. You don't meet one person that's not like in your face, go Jacks type. Like, they are so proud to be, you know, in this place. You know, it's just, there's so much support for women, and I know it's obviously harder to get more support for women's sports nowadays, but there's the same amount of attendance, you know, for whatever it is, you know, football. Everyone's just crazy for it, and I love that. I love the passion that people have, and the coaches do, and the players do, and talking to the faculty when I, you know, went up there, and the AD. It's just like you don't see that much.
Well, that's exciting then. You should be pumped.
That's pretty cool. Like a small, I mean, it's not a small school, but it is a small school, right?
Yeah. 100%.
All right. Well, so we before we let you go, we love a prediction, and we sort of like vacated the your high school soccer career and talking about sort of your spring season coming up. You've won yourself a high school state basketball championship. My understanding is that your high school soccer team does not have a ton of like trained soccer players, like, you know, like lifelong soccer players. Is that right?
No. We actually just established our program this past year. So last year was my first year playing for Dike-New Hartford as a soccer team, and we made it to a regional final, which is pretty sick. But no, we had 2 subs the whole season. Very minimal players. None of them really have played soccer ever. Maybe there was a couple, and it was me and one of my good friends, Camille Landfair. She's going to UNI to play soccer. So she's a junior. So me and her were kind of, you know, the dynamic duo that led, I guess, and kind of got maybe more girls interested and taught them and as best as we could. And had a great coach, Kat. She was a former UNI coach. We had a good foundation. It's just, you know, you have to get everyone more involved and understanding of maybe what soccer is, I guess. because it's, a lot of people never played it. But yeah.
That's a cool little experience to have, though, probably overall, especially considering where you're headed. So enjoy that this spring. What's the prediction? You're gonna make the regional final and then win it this time?
Hopefully, that is the plan. Hopefully it's not 110 degrees on turf for the regional final as it was last year, which was the worst.
You could have said that you'll be like, I'm assuming, did you score the most goals last year?
Camille did, but I think I believe I led the state in assists. I had 40 something, I think.
Oh, my prediction would have been I'm school leader in assists.
What?
I said my prediction would have been that you would be the all-time leading assist in your school history by the time you graduate.
For basketball,
Oh, for basketball?
And that's what I was gonna say. So this is like shocking to me. So you're saying that you had 40 some odd soccer assists in one season?
And 27 goals, maybe 29.
Good Lord. How many assists do you have in high school basketball?
I'm trying not to be like boast. Like
you're not boasting. You're not offering this up. I'm asking you a direct question that there's a very specific answer to.
I believe I have 400. I'm leading the state right now. I have 8 assists per game.
8? Good Lord. Do you score points in basketball too? What's that?
Wait,
do you?
Breaking up. Sorry,
do you score points too, or do you just dish the rock?
I get my buckets every here and there, but mostly pass.
I love Ben trying to talk basketball like lingo that he's absolutely
dish the rock. Yeah. Okay. So wait, is the basketball state tournament? You guys gonna win it again?
Hopefully, we're ranked number 1 right now, and we're a very strong team. So that's the plan.
All right. Well, okay. So all the best to you in your basketball endeavors and your soccer endeavors, and may you assist and score lots. It doesn't sound like it's gonna be a problem though.
Hopefully not. Hopefully. Thank you. I appreciate it, by the way.
Good luck next fall. We'll keep an eye out for some Iowa action in South Dakota.
Thank you.
All right. Again, that was Sophie Hoffman. Good luck to her this spring. Up next, we'll go with Grace Smith, Roosevelt Rough Rider and Sporting Iowa product, heading to Drake University here in the fall.
All right, Grace Smith, welcome to the pod. How's it going today?
Pretty good. I'm excited to be here.
Very good. Did you listen to any pods in preparation?
I did. I listened to the 2019 where you interviewed some other athletes. So I listened to some of that. That was a good one.
Did you ask them?
I haven't. You've asking like all these questions now, Ben.
I'm sorry.
We'll see how much she listened, or how many different episodes she listened to. So we usually lead off. First question is always: is this the first time you ever done a podcast?
It is my first time. Yes.
Nervous?
No, I'm more excited, honestly. So I'm ready.
Great. That's good to hear.
Love it. Well, so maybe tell us a little bit about yourself. We know you go to Roosevelt and you play for Sporting Iowa and going to Drake.
Yes.
But tell us a little bit about kind of what's going on and like how it started for you.
Well, I'm a senior at Roosevelt. I've been playing soccer since I was 4, so it's been a long time.
What club did you grow up playing?
Okay, so I started
soccer origin story.
Yeah. I started with JUSC, and then I moved from JUSC to West Des Moines, I think, in about 7th grade, before my 7th grade year. And then, they combine and create Sporting, obviously. So that's where I am now. Stuck with that kind of like pipeline. So, yeah.
So are you at Johnston or Urbandale? Because before you go to Johnston or Urbandale, you had to be.
Yeah, I actually attended Johnston schools for elementary school before moving to Des Moines Public Schools.
Okay, so she's like at the heart, like she's a dragon. So.
Yeah, I'm a dragon as well.
Rough Rider now for sure. So.
Right on. When did you transition over, did you say?
My 7th grade, right before 7th grade, I think it was.
Gotcha.
That's an interesting dynamic, I think. So you were with JUSC,
Yes.
move over to West Des Moines, and then within a couple of years, you guys come back together again.
Yep. So I knew all the players, and we all combined, which was pretty cool. I got to see everyone again.
No hostility from the former JUSC player, like, oh, she's left us, and now all of a sudden she's back.
I mean, I don't think so. Not that, and we were all still good friends, especially because I went to school with a lot of them. So, yeah, it was fun.
What
about the transition from Johnson schools to one public school? So, like, what middle school were you at?
I was at Merrill Middle School.
Okay, so right there. So, like, your hometown field would be Albert in theory.
Right,
Okay,
right.
very good. Was that a bit of a transition?
Yeah, I moved middle schools before I did clubs. So I went in during 6th grade. So I felt like it was a bit easier because everyone was kind of transitioning into middle school. So I wasn't really like odd one out or anything.
I was envisioning an actual 7th grade transition. That would have been weird.
No,
right
yeah.
They do the 6, 7, 8 there, right? So
yeah. No, I'm grateful that it was like right when everybody was kind of adapted to that. So
cool. So you're obviously playing quite a bit. When did you say, hey, you know what, I'm good enough and want to play in college? Was there a time, or was it like, oh, as I'm getting older, other people are doing it? Conversation started. How's that work?
Yeah, I think it was about 8th grade, between 7th and 8th, specifically like during my 8th grade year of school. It obviously the conversation got brought up, and I kind of thought about it for a while and was iffy about it. And then as that year progressed, I decided that was something that I wanted to do, and I wanted to continue playing.
Who was coaching at that point? Did that play into it? Was that a conversation that you had with the coach?
Yes. By that time, I think I may have still had Rich Bywater at that time, and then I was transitioning into Whitney Lewis, and definitely that was a conversation I had mostly with Whitney, I think, but Rich was also definitely a force behind that.
It's kind of interesting. So about timing, because to us, 8th grade, one, you can never really be too young to be looking, talking about college soccer opportunities and new IB camps now. So like, it's just interesting hearing you say, hey, 8th grade, I started the conversation, decided, hey, I'm good enough. I want to play at least. So where do I go from here? So you move into freshman year. When did you start doing any kind of college prep site, like I said, ID camps, summer camps? What'd you do?
I think my first ID camp was that summer before my freshman year. It was University of Iowa camp, and so there were like a lot of schools in attendance too. Drake was there, and a few other schools that I was kind of interested in, like all sorts of divisions. And so that was my first ID camp, and that was like a kind of a wake up call. Like I was like, oh, like this is intense, especially like D1 level. So I kind of like had to, I don't know, have that conversation with myself, I guess. Like, is this something that you really, really want to do? Because you really got to work for it. So I kind of decided after that was something I wanted to do.
Yeah, I mean, is that like great advice for kids? Like before you're in high school, like go to an ID camp, because like, I mean, it was uncomfortable and it was an eye opener, right? So like, you clearly went to another one and another one, and got more comfortable. Did you ever go back to Iowa?
I did not.
Did the discomfort make you want to do it again though, or because some kids would go, this probably isn't for me?
I mean, I think that was definitely the biggest one I've ever been to. Even now, there were so many schools, so that was a bit nerve-wracking. But I did go with like a few girls on my team, so it was we were all experiencing it together for the first time. So that helped a little bit, just knowing like people were in the same boat as me.
I don't know, I've never been one because they're kind of a relatively new thing, but do you train and play with the same age, or are you guys playing with, is it everybody combined?
Yeah, for that one, it was everyone combined.
Okay,
so.
and is that the norm?
Yeah.
Or are they all a little bit different?
I think in all the Drake ones I've been to as well, everyone's pretty much combined, all age groups. They might separate like in the beginning for a little bit, but once you start scrimmaging, it's everyone.
So, yeah.
So did you get any, I mean, was there any feedback from that? Do you remember the first one?
I remember being like, oh my goodness, these girls are huge. They're so good. Like really physical. I just hadn't really gotten there yet, I guess. And so.
What position do you play again?
I'm a 6.
Okay. So then that size thing is a.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
What was there any feedback from schools on that first one, or did you go, you got nothing back, and you're like, oh, is this normal? What do I?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure. My ODP coach, my old ODP coach, he was there with co-college, and he was actually like in charge of my group for that day. So I knew him and knew who he was. Yeah.
Okay.
So that I think I may have got some feedback from him. I think I talked to him about it afterwards, and we kind of chatted. But I think that was about it actually. So that was definitely kind of almost, I don't know, not defeating in a way because it was my first one, but I was definitely like, oh, this is really intense. There are a lot of girls there. Not everyone gets the feedback and all that kind of stuff.
So then what was next? How'd that go? What did that fuel in you, or did you have to get some encouragement to get back on the horse, or?
I think it was a bit like of a push from the club. They had a CAP program is what they call it, for like college advisory kind of. So I ended up having a meeting with Corbin, was the director at the time for that. And so I had a meeting with him, and we discussed, all sorts of schools. And at that point I had been pretty interested in Drake. And so I brought up the possibility of playing there. And I actually live like right outside of Drake campus. So I've been going to their like younger kid camps since I was little. And so then I started attending their ID camps as well.
I'd be interested to know what Corbin thought about Drake. He was
coach there.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, hey, it's funny.
Yeah.
So then what was on the radar? Was Drake that was the target and that was where you wanted to go, or did you do the dance and go check out a bunch of different?
Drake was pretty much I knew kind of that's where I wanted to be, but I did definitely keep my options open for all divisions. I visited a D3 school in addition to it was Dubuque, University of Dubuque, and so I liked the campus and everything, but I wanted, I think, just a different level of competitiveness with the play, but I also didn't want to go to a huge school. It's like a super big, like Iowa is really big, and I kind of wanted that smaller campus feel, just to get that one-on-one kind of like academic support with professors and not having huge classes and everything. So Drake was kind of like checked every box, so I kind of went after them.
So through this process, you're obviously get some kind of notification from Lindsay or Kevin or somebody.
Who recruited you? Yeah.
It was Kevin mostly. I spoke to him the most through my coach.
Funny story. We took our C license with Kevin without knowing him, and so we just ended up becoming friendly. 15 some years ago. A long time ago. Yeah, well, 10 probably. Come on. But then he just sort of not just showed up. Obviously, he got here and was like, oh, that guy. We like Kevin.
Yeah, no, I like him too.
Yeah. So anywhere else you visited, or how did you get? Where else did you get seen? Was it only ID camps? Because you guys did some stuff where college coaches come in and run training sessions and whatnot.
Yeah, we did a lot of showcases, and those were definitely a lot of Kansas City ones. And so before each showcase, I would type up my email, my draft, and I would research all these different schools and send about 10 emails to 10 different schools before each showcase. So
did you feel it was kind of your job to get it figured out?
Yeah, my neither of my parents played college sports. I don't have anyone in my family that has actually played college sports, so it was definitely a learning experience for me. I asked for a lot of guidance from coaches, but I was definitely, my parents were definitely this is, if you want to play in college, you gotta work for it. You gotta do it. So I did all the highlights and the emails and all that fun stuff.
Can be a little uncomfortable, reaching out to these people, sure. Isn't it? The coaches.
Did you pick the phone up, or were you an email?
I picked the phone up a few times and scheduled quite a few calls and all that fun stuff. So, had my questions ready beforehand to chat with them over the phone.
Okay, so that's awesome. That's so great, and hopefully the kids that are listening to this, they're also taking notes. But so like, who told you to do that? Is that just your like a smart young lady, or was your parents like, hey, if you're going to do this, take it seriously? Is it the coaches teaching you through the CAP program? Like, what is it?
A lot of my guidance I got from my coach, Whitney. So a lot of times she would say, you can ask to schedule a call. And I was always like, oh, what if they don't really want to speak with me? And they're just kind of entertaining my email. So I ended up getting a few emails where it was, they wanted to schedule one. And I was like, oh, okay, so I have to be doing this. So then I would start sending out, asking to call people as well. So.
Who were some other schools that were in the running?
A lot of the schools were like, D3 schools. That was an entertaining option because I wasn't allowed to call any D1 schools yet. So
and this is what I don't even know what the rules are. What year?
Yeah, so the rule changed. I think like I want to say right after around that time, because I did have a call with Drake like right before the rule changed. They decided to set up a call because they wanted to say that they were interested, but they wouldn't be able to contact me for a year or so, unless it was through my coach. So I did have a call with Kevin. I think it was right after my freshman year that summer. And then I didn't speak with them in person, like over the phone for a while. Everything I heard was through my coach. They would tell it me and they would tell me.
That'd be difficult.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on? How come they wanted to entertain me, and then now it's gone silent?
Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of crazy. So a lot of the calls were with like Loris, it's University of Dubuque. I had quite a few calls with them. I think Central, they were, all the Iowa schools.
So your freshman year comes and goes. Sophomore year, you're still kind of looking around.
Yeah, and then COVID hit too, so it was like a whole nother thing, like a layer added to it. So like my process was a bit different than kids from a couple of years ago, because COVID kind of like changed everything a little bit.
And you still sophomore year, so sophomore year COVID hits. You have no high school season. Your club, that would have been the spring, basically got shut down.
Yeah.
And so nobody's been able to watch you play in quite a while. So what ends up happening?
I was really concerned because I wanted Drake to see me play at showcases and all that, and so in different environments other than just their ID camps. And they had seen me a few times beforehand, just because local player. But when that like happened, I was really nervous about, if they're going to want to wait even longer and longer, just because it's been so long since I've, been on a field with my team. And so it was a lot of like just work on my own, like constantly doing work. And I was constantly in touch with Whitney, sending her videos of what I was doing. And we would chat back and forth weekly. She sent me some things that she thought I could be working on. And I believe I want to say they also sent her some stuff that they wanted me to improve on over this like break, so that when I came back, they could see if there had been any progress. So yeah, it was mostly just working on those specific areas.
Talk a little bit about the difference, because you mentioned wanting to maybe preferring to have them see you play with your team. Mm-hmm. Talk about the difference between that and doing the showcase. I mean, I think I know the answer, but
yeah. So with my team, like I feel like it's so different than being an ID camp, because when you're there, you don't know the players that are there. Whereas if you've been playing with your team for a while, like they can see if you're, a leader on that team of presence, the team chemistry, how you kind of lift up your team or encourage them, which I think is kind of hard to see with ID camps.
At the ID camps, I always like those types of events. I always felt like people are just everybody's trying to stand out.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Which isn't necessarily the right, the decision you make to stand out wouldn't be a decision you necessarily make with your team with their best interest in mind. So
right.
I think it's always a challenging thing. And I assume as a 6, you're probably a little bit more defensive. Mm-hmm. So that always makes it even more difficult, because defending isn't always easy to show off.
Right.
So did they end up getting to see you play enough times? Do you think playing with your club team is how they decided on you?
Yeah, I think I know they spoke to Whitney a lot about it, and Kevin also works at Sporting like part-time, so he would also sneak into practices and stuff and like help out.
Luckily nobody listens to this podcast, because I don't know if that's
not talk to we wouldn't talk to me. But so he would like, if Whitney were gone, sometimes he would take over practice, and that was like that happened a few times. Like when we returned from COVID, he was there at practices and stuff. So.
Did you do ODP?
I did.
Any thought? I mean, what was that experience as far as college goes? Did you get a lot of looks? Was it obviously good because you're playing better players, but
yeah, I think for me it was mostly the like just getting better. With the environment's very different than it is in club. It's more competitive. The teams you play against are more competitive. So I think like just like that level was very challenging and challenged me to get better and really work hard. So I think that was the most beneficial thing for me with ODP. I think most of my college looks were through my club.
So you commit to Drake, and when did you do that?
I did it that like once the dead period like ended. It was that day. Like we talked on the phone or over FaceTime, I guess. And
so you were waiting. I mean, you knew.
I knew it was coming. I was told by like my coach to anticipate an offer.
It's exciting stuff.
Yeah.
So then now you have to spend the next. To me, this is the hard part too. Now you got to wait. What, another 18 months or how? I mean, like when you committed, you did that just recently this summer?
No, the summer before, right for my junior year.
Okay, so 18 months-ish.
Yeah, so it's been a while. And then I was very lucky too, because then the dead period got reinstated because of COVID, like a couple weeks later. So if we'd waited, like I wouldn't have been able to commit until a while back. So I was very lucky in that aspect. But yeah, then I had to wait like a year and a half, while before signing and making it like official.
It's so interesting. I think that piece of like, hopefully that will never happen again to anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. So then what, Horner and Kevin have you like on some sort of program over those 2 years to prepare you? I don't know. I'm just wondering if like that's, or do you just like, you go on and keep playing club? And then I guess the other question I have is, you've now seen the change from ISL to CDL, and are you playing ECNL too?
Yeah.
So maybe talk a little bit about talk about that, I guess, as well.
It was kind of just like, okay, like you verbally committed, like we'll honor our end, you honor yours, but obviously nothing's set in stone. But like there's a lot of relief with deciding, but also just I was constantly having to like remind myself that I have to continue to prove to them that I will continue to earn a spot on their team. So, and especially I saw them a lot too. So a lot, I was, never knew when they were going to be there, all that fun stuff. So it was just, constantly working hard, continuing to do that. And we played against a couple of ECNL teams, just like to scrimmage them, because we were RL that year, ECNL RL. So I remember Kevin being at those games, and he was very helpful. And I got to see him coach and have that more often. And then this year we're in ECNL, and it's a whole other ball game. It's crazy. Way different than anything I've ever played, but definitely really beneficial. I'm really glad that my last year before going to college, where it's obviously going to be super competitive, I got a little taste of that. See what that's like. So
you said it's different. So what are the things that differentiate it?
The level of play is just insane. My team, we've always been, a winning team. We've been in the, winning most of our games, all that fun stuff. But this year was not like that. We did not have a winning season. But it was still really beneficial. Playing these teams, we got beat pretty badly a couple of times, but learning from those teams too, and the dynamic that they have going on, it was really, really interesting to see.
Yeah, if that doesn't drive you to keep working, right?
Right.
Those are the girls are going to be competing at the next level.
For sure.
What was I just going to ask?
I don't know. Probably, I'm guessing you were thinking, give us some predictions on the Roosevelt High School season.
No, that's right. Yeah, so Roosevelt, what is this? That's exactly that. What position do you play for Roosevelt?
I'm the 6th.
Still.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I think I'll be center backs.
Okay. That's
a lot of times, if you're a good club player and you end up on your high school team, they're like, all right, we're playing up
top.
front.
a goal scorer. So
Also, yeah, somebody has to hold it down the back.
Exactly. That's my job.
So are you guys, I mean, obviously you guys probably have some big expectations for this spring with Rosa, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a few players that play at Sporting that play Rosa. So
it's been a while since the Roosevelt girls have been in the picture.
Hey, last season we did some good stuff last season.
I know that
historically.
I know. Like, it's definitely been
So are you
recent.
Are you guys getting to? Are you getting the county?
We're hoping to. Yeah.
Come on.
For sure. Last year we were top 10 last year. We were 9th, I believe, last year, and I don't know if Roosevelt's ever been ranked or if it was like in the beginning of the program. So it's been a long time. So definitely that's our goal this year.
Goal.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good.
Well, we'll be following you. That'll be exciting.
Anything I don't know, I have left, Ben, like anything. So if there are 14-year-old girls listening or their parents, like this is when you started, right? They're 8th grade-ish. What if you can do something over again, if you're glad you did something, like what would be the recommendation, piece of advice to them?
I'd say definitely utilize your coaches. Whatever club you're at. That most of them, a lot of them have that experience. They've been through the process themselves more than likely, or have coached players who have been through the process and they know the college coaches. So definitely use them for advice, help, whether it's setting up emails or figuring out, how to make highlights, what to say when you call coaches. Like that's interesting too. So being prepared for everything.
So let's imagine next year this time we get a chat with you. What's the feedback on your season? You're gonna see you playing next fall. Are you what's it like? What's your goal going into your freshman season?
Obviously my goal is to play and to start. Like I think any student athlete, I think that's anyone's goal. But I'm being realistic too. Like I'm going to a good D1 program with fantastic players, really competitive players who've been there for 4 years. So I've prepared myself not to lose confidence or get down on myself if I'm not getting just large sum of playing time. But definitely I'll be working for that for sure. I'll be a force.
Do you know any players?
I do.
Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah.
That'll help.
Mm-hmm.
If you get along with them, I guess.
I do. Yeah, they're all really nice. When I went on my tour, the girls were great, and I know one of them at least. So.
Well, I'm excited that I'm glad you snuck that in there that you're going to be a force. So we'll be watching. Good luck in the fall. Good luck in the spring.
Thank you.
Good luck in the spring first. I'm sorry. And then good luck in the fall.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Fun chat with Grace Smith. We're going to kind of segue with our Rough Riders theme here and go from the girls' side to the boys' side and chat with Andrew Holmes, who is formerly a Rough Rider prior to moving up north, currently at St. Cloud Tech and playing club soccer for the Minnesota Eclipse before he played for Sporting Iowa down here in Des Moines and heading to Edwardsville, which I learned was in Indiana. It's shocking that I'm just learning that, but Edwardsville. He's going to Evansville in Indiana. Oh man, having a shocker here. Enjoy. All right, Andrew Holmes, welcome to the pod. It's really nice to see your face. How you doing?
I'm doing great today, Ben Brackett. How are you? And Blake.
We're good. Yeah, it's snowing down here. What's it like up north?
We got a lot of snow yesterday, but it stopped, and they're a lot better up here about plowing the streets and everything, making it drivable than I remember it being in Iowa. So it's nice.
So I'm sorry. I've breached protocol because I just asked you the first question, and it was not our typical first question. You usually listen to the pod, though. I'm sure, right? You've heard your dad on the pod at least.
Yeah.
Brother. So you know the first question, right?
That's a question. First question.
No. Give me a second. Maybe.
All right.
Digging deep.
Yeah. The first question, we're going to beat you to it because you had your chance. Is this the first pod you've ever been on?
Oh, now I remember. Yes, it is actually.
Nice. I assume you're not nervous because you're a confident young Holmes man.
Yeah,
so,
never.
We're happy to have you though, and we were talking about trying to find guys to come on, guys and girls, but specifically in this situation, we're trying to find guys. And we were like, what about Andrew Holmes? Like, you know, he's basically a Des Moines guy. Like, let's get him in the mix. So we're happy to see you. It's been a while.
Yes, it has.
It's been like 2 years, 3
since
2?
I've seen you. Yeah,
probably. How are things up north? Are you loving life?
Yeah, I am. I think coming out of COVID and stuff, it's been a lot more fun than maybe last year was, but things have been fun. I've been skating a lot because my dad never taught me to when I was younger, so I've been enjoying, really embracing my life as a Minnesotan now. It's great.
Do you are you no hockey though for you?
No, I don't play like real hockey, but I play with my friends that play hockey.
Oh, nice.
I'm getting up there though. I think I could probably take Sean Holmes at this point.
I don't know if that's like something to brag about though.
Yeah, true.
Well, okay, so we know more about you probably than the average listener to the pod. So we like to just let you maybe give us your origin story a little bit. Tell us about like when you started playing, your club journey, your high school journey, just like how you got to where you are today, and then we'll ping you as you go.
So the club journey, or I guess my journey starts, as most kids would say, just they've been playing ever since they can really remember. And I started at Soccer South with some of the greats like Joe Berger and Barry Sheridan, and of course Sean Holmes. Because that was just because I lived, I think, less than a mile away, so that's just what made sense.
And you're also the youngest of three, and you're both older brothers are soccer dorks.
Yeah. Obviously, my brother Matthew was almost going to play in college, that never really panned out, and Sam's on the Paralympic team. So I was always going to play soccer.
Your father has something to do with that, maybe too.
Yeah. And then of course he was the coach at Drake for as long as I can remember. I guess since I was born. That's probably one of the most influential parts of me growing up, going to things like Drake camps and going to preseason with the guys and seeing those guys in training. And I think that was like from my youngest days, I knew I wanted to do something like those guys were doing. And then so I stayed at Soccer South, and then I sadly closed down. And I think Matt Ream has been working on getting, although it's not Soccer South anymore, it's Des Moines United. He's been working on starting that back up. Des Moines Soccer Club. Yeah, I knew right as I said it. And then I don't even remember what age, probably like 5th grade, I made the switch to West Des Moines with coaches like Rich Bywater, Chris Scott. And then that eventually became Sporting Iowa. And then I went to Roosevelt too, I should include that. And then had probably, I guess, 3 years at Sporting Iowa. I only ever got to play one season at Roosevelt, which was unfortunate because COVID season was cut short. And even my freshman season, I think I was kind of injured. But and then I obviously moved up here. I've been playing with Maplebrook / Minnesota Eclipse. And then I obviously go to Tech High School, the Tigers, orange and red, or orange and black, which is funny because that was what Valley was. And you never wanted to support Valley growing up, but I guess I got to support some kind of Tigers now.
Good man. I like it. Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
So, I mean, gosh, we could go all over the place with this. I'm just gonna, because I feel like I've been hogging this side of the Zoom.
I'm just curious.
Let's get Blake in the mix over here.
I mean, you've got a kind of a completely different upbringing, I think, than most kids. With like, unfortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, you're around soccer, or you have been really every day since you've been born. So, like you talked briefly kind of about going to the camps. I mean, I remember you were always on campus, like running around the field house and stuff. So what did that, I don't even know if you can compare it to anything just because you may not know any different. But like, what did that do to kind of grow your love of the game, if anything, just being around it literally all the time?
I think it at some point it didn't become anything. It wasn't a sport. It wasn't like an extracurricular. It was like almost what I did. I was just a guy that played soccer. At school, you were the guy who played soccer. Everybody knew that, and that just became part of my identity, and not so much just a thing I do on the side. It was me, and that changed it from something I maybe enjoy, uh, to something I truly love. I would not want to give up.
Well, so I don't want to take you away from that sentiment, but when you say that like you are the soccer guy, I also want to well, I imagine somebody would probably slap you upside the head. I wouldn't necessarily slap you upside the head, but like you're a very good student. So
yeah.
So academics is obviously something that you're interested in as well. So like talk about that role. I mean, I know your father's a bit of an academic himself, or at least claims to be, right? And you come from smart stock all the way through. So like talk about that, like, your academic interests definitely exist. You're no jock. No offense.
Yeah. I guess it was always nice. My dad always told me, like school comes first and then it's soccer. And fortunately enough, I was a good enough student where I never really had to pick between the two because I could do both. But yeah, I've always loved school. I've always done well. And now I'm choosing to go into engineering. I don't know if you guys knew that. I think it maybe said it on a Facebook post somewhere, but
yep.
Civil engineering, and there's nothing too specific to it. It's just I like math. I like science. I like things I can feel and touch, and I want to, at the end of my days, say there was something that I knew I had an impact on and something I built. So I think that's pretty cool. A pretty cool way to do it.
I mean, your mom is clearly smarter than your dad, correct?
I don't know. Maybe that's a close one. No, I think she, as my dad likes to refer to her, she was the top percentile of smart and hardworking. It's like a combination I can't even say I have to this day.
Yeah, so, none of the Holmes boys really have that combination, do they?
Yeah, no, not quite.
Oh, well, so good segue then. Like, talk about how you ended up selecting University of Evansville, because obviously with Sean as like the connector, well, the coach, but the connector too, right? Like he's a social butterfly. So, like figuring out where you're going to go to school, like you could call anybody you wanted and have the conversation. So how'd you end up at the U of E? And also, side note, there are not a lot of programs that offer engineering and soccer at the level that you're talking about.
Yeah, which I didn't even realize was a thing until obviously I started this process. I just figured that a lot of people talk, or my dad specifically, he's like, it's a big point of emphasis that I'm going to be able to do both, which I guess is a thing in the soccer and academic world. But for me, I mean, every kid that plays soccer and plays sports in general wants to go Division I think that was my focus from the start. But I also don't think it was like an insane pressure, just because I saw what St. Cloud State was at the Division II level and realized it wasn't all that much different than what I wanted and what was appealing to me. But so I just reached out to a bunch of college coaches. I made a highlight video probably a year ago, sent it out to hundreds of coaches.
Like you crunching people in tackles?
A lot of big balls, through balls, and not a ton of goals, because unfortunately I didn't score at all last year in my high school season, but I've scored a couple times this year to make up for it. And I sent out probably 100 emails to every Division I school I could think of. I had a list. I went down the list. 0 replies. And the few that were replies were, come to our ID camp. And I couldn't just be flying out everywhere. And then so I guess I looked to my dad and said, well, obviously that did not work. So let's see who like just some of the people you have the best relationship with in the soccer world, in the college soccer world. So really the main ones we reached out to were St. Thomas and Evansville, and then a few other in the Midwest, maybe Western Illinois a little bit. And I was almost maybe going to go to St. Thomas. I went to campus and everything. I liked it, but almost to my fault, I just didn't quite stay in contact with the coach enough. Never really, I think I made an email one time and I think he didn't see it or something. And then weeks went by during school and I kind of forgot a little bit. And then my dad was mentioning Evansville because they also had, I mean, he would never say that they have a bad program, but he said they had a good engineering program and soccer. And so messaged back and forth with Marshall Ray. I got on campus for a visit. It seemed like a good place for me. I'm not like a massive social butterfly, so I think this kind of size of school and area was kind of right for me. And then obviously the soccer piece fit in well enough, and yeah, that was kind of it.
Real quick, so you mentioned it earlier, which I love, and it's definitely people. We've had conversations with people that I don't know if they quote, really understand it. Like you said, you wanted to go Division I, and whether kids actually want to really do it or not anymore these days, I don't know. But like what, and that's great. Like that was your goal. What made you was it being around like a Division I program? Was it like, hey, that's the highest level and like that I can go to, and like I want to achieve and like fight and battle for a spot? Like what would end up being like, you know what, I want to go to Division I? Because you easily could have gone, right? I mean, like fair to say, you could have gone to St. Cloud State Division II where your dad's at. You could have gone a bunch of other places, Division III, whatnot. What made you kind of like, hey, I want to play at the highest level that's out there?
Well, just like you said, that is the highest level, and it's a level I thought I could compete at. Seeing guys at St. Cloud State, seeing guys at other levels of soccer, I didn't think Division I was just the level I thought I could and should be competing at. And then obviously the moments that stick out to me in my childhood are things like, my dad going to the Elite Eight and that whole run, which I can like still vividly remember the whole video that they made. And that is like moments to me that's like, I want to be a part of something like that. And who knows if I'll see that kind of success in the NCAA tournament, but
definitely not at Evansville. You won't. I'll just say that.
But I want to push myself as hard as I can. And if it doesn't work out at the end of the day, it doesn't, but you got to try to do the most you can.
That's definitely the deal. So, I mean, looking forward, right? Coming into the spring, you got high school season coming up, right? You guys do high school.
Oh,
you guys do
fall.
Oh, that's right. Because you had,
was like player of the year.
I was going to say, sorry. You had a little success in the fall. My bad. So then, what's the spring like then?
Just club. I play in Maplebrook, which is in Maple Grove. It's Minnesota Eclipse now, I think. But that's about 45, 50 minutes away.
South,
so right now,
closer to the city?
No, it's the northeast of the city. So we drive 45 minutes southwest. And I probably could have played, at different places like Minnesota Thunder or all the different clubs. But I think any farther than 50 minutes would have been a real stress on myself and my dad, who drives me a lot, and dealing with traffic and things like that. So I just 2 times a week in the dome there, and then I practice with the local club 2 times a week, and then obviously we'll get back outside and I'll start going a little more, probably 3 or 4 times a week with Maple Grove, and then we obviously have things like State Cup and tournaments and all that jazz.
Yeah, what are the summer plans other than lifting a bunch of weights like we were talking about before?
My coach runs a men's team. It's like Granite City. I think they're UPSL.
Oh, nice.
Maybe they just moved up to NPSL or something, and
I've heard of them.
Split into like 2 teams. So during the summer, I obviously still have I had some high school practices. I would sometimes kick around with state class state guys when they're around. But then we do 3 times a week Granite City practices at 6:30 in the morning, which it's tough, but that was probably, if I had to think in the last year, probably the most beneficial thing for me as a soccer player was playing against older, faster guys, and really kind of at times running me ragged, but it was what was definitely best for me.
So you talked, going back a little bit, just some advice for like young kids or parents that are listening to this, that you've been through the process. Like you mentioned, like, honestly, like, hey, like I probably should have followed up with this coach over here a little bit more, whatnot. What, like looking back, obviously you're happy at committing to Evansville, but what, if you had to do it all over again, knowing what you know now, like I said, I mean, like you literally wrote letters or emails to a ton of college coaches. Anything you would do differently, or anything you would recommend, I should say, to like kids that are maybe freshmen, sophomore, kind of getting into the process on, hey, like this is what worked for me, or this is what I would have done differently, or anything like that?
I would definitely say don't be too afraid to get personal. I mean, I should have probably called coaches, text coaches, and you think about it and you don't want to be a burden to these guys. You don't want to annoy them, but those are the memories and the interactions that will stick out in coaches' minds more than just an email, who that coach probably never even sees. It might go to an assistant coach and it might never see anybody's eyes. So yeah, I would say definitely get personal, and then maybe a couple more ID camps. Obviously with COVID happening in the middle of my sophomore year, it didn't help that I couldn't travel a ton. Their ID camps weren't as big of a thing as they maybe were before COVID, obviously. But yeah, like I would say anything where you can really interact one-to-one with a coach is probably the best way to do it.
Listen up, young men and ladies, because that's good advice. I would definitely say that at least my experience would tell me that. I would guess Blake's experience tells him that. And when we talk to different kids, young people, it seems to sort of be the difference. Like, how willing are you to put yourself out there? So
yeah.
And being the youngest of the Holmes boys probably makes it easy for you, right?
Yeah. A lot of
no hiding in that family.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, okay. Well, we won't keep you because, you got to get to the gym and pump some iron and do whatever else, I don't know, a little ball work, I'm sure, because, you love the ball. But we just really appreciate you taking the time, and we miss you down here in Des Moines, but we're really happy that you're flourishing up north.
Yeah. I forgot to shout out your Saturday morning little futsals or kick arounds down at Hidden Valley, which I didn't get to come to a ton because I wasn't quite old enough, and then I left, obviously, but those were good for me too. The few I went to.
Better than your oldest brother, I'll say that.
I was gonna say, who was the best Holmes at those? Was it, would you claim yourself? And actually, this was the thing I wanted to end on. Now it's like when you guys have the game, right? When it's a 2v2, what are the teams right now? And then what are the teams that you would pick if you had to choose? That's what I want to know.
If I'd say it's funny because Sam and Matthew, they like to bicker a lot, whether you put them on the same team or the opposite team. I think it probably have to be me and my dad versus Matthew and Sam, if that's the only way we make it fair. But
you could go 1 against 3 as well.
You could.
I think you just all right. Absolutely.
I just get an open space, find a shot. I can defend the rest. But
not much mobility in those other 3, is there?
Yeah, certainly.
Oh, I love it, Andrew. Well, thanks again for taking the time, and really, I hope. Evansville will play Drake at some point, right? So we'll get to see you.
Yeah.
for sure when you come to town, but hopefully we'll see you before then.
Yeah. Got a lot of coaches relying on invites to those. Matt Reen, he's already asked for an invite to that game. So I got to remember that for the future.
Don't forget.
But I guess I got to make the bus trip first. So we'll see.
First things first. All right. Well, good luck to you. Lift those weights, do that fitness program. And we're looking forward to seeing how you do.
Thank you. 8:40 practice tonight down in the cities.
It's going
to be great. Yeah.
All right, Steves, that was fun. Good little chat with Andrew Holmes there. Always love bringing it back home. Now Matthew Holmes is going to be the odd man out. Unlucky Matthew. Hopefully we'll find a way to speak to you sometime in the future. What do you think, Steves? You want to take it?
Yeah, I mean, that was good. Hopefully everybody thought it was valuable, insightful. I know it's long, so we don't want to keep you guys any longer, but follow us on our social media channels. Twitter at KIF_soccer, but then Facebook and Instagram, KIF Soccer, Facebook, website, KIFsoccer.com, YouTube channel. You can see us in these new digs for the outro. YouTube, kick it forward. Anything else, Ben?
Yeah, I would just say next episode, we'll have an exclusive interview with the new Drake men's head coach, Pat Flynn. So be sure to stay tuned for that. And then also first game of the high school season here coming up on March 28th. So game of the week will be back in full force. If there's any games you'd like to see in particular, slide in those DMs. Let us know what's up. Talk to you soon. Go Hawks.